What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Skolcial Network. I would say that to Brev, but apparently he is now battling the internet monsters and is frozen in hieroglyphics, it looks. Luckily for me and for you, what am I looking at right now? We have a special guest for Purple Profile, another guest episode, and Brev just decided to leave. Wonderful. We've got Dakota Koep with us, a.k.a. the Spitpot. Nope, can't talk. Spitfire from Southern California, according to Paul Allen. Dakota, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Jason? I'm so excited to be here and break up the dude time.
I know. Well, apparently it's just one dude now because we have battled our internet issues valiantly, and it looks like Brev just gave up. So he'll join back with us. But for obviously you've been on the Vikes Now network. You were there for probably the biggest episode we've ever had with PA. But for those who may not know you, go ahead and introduce yourself. What do you want them to know about you as a human being, and most importantly, as a Vikings fan?
So I've been a Vikings fan. I like to say that I've been alive. Oh, here he is.
Look at that.
I like to say that I've been alive for 26 years, and I've been a Vikings fan for 26 years. I was born, and then the Vikings were like, you know what we should do? We should draft Randy Moss as celebration for my birth. So you're welcome, everybody. But I've been a Minnesota Vikings fan my whole life, even out here in Southern California. It's a curse that my dad placed upon me that I continue to, unfortunately, hold proudly.
Hashtag samesies, as the kids say.
For you, it would be samesies. Let's see. I currently run a TikTok account where you can find me as Western Dakota. It's got 13.8 thousand followers. The 0.8 is as of last night, where I do things like Dungeons and Dragons. I talk about all things Minnesota Vikings, and sometimes I combine the two by assigning NFL players D&D classes, which people really, really liked, I guess. Obviously, you can find me on Vikes Now as an occasional guest and the social media manager. And I am on Twitter at Spitfire Coda because I have made that nickname my entire branding.
What D&D class? I'm not super D&D focused, although like I'm a major nerd when it comes to like Star Wars, Marvel, all that stuff. Yeah. What class would Brev be?
Okay, so I have been thinking about this because I've been wanting to commission art of like the Vikes Now gang as like D&D classes.
Oh,
so
God.
I personally think Brev would be a barbarian. They do this really cool thing called raging where they're like, I'm gonna rage, and they basically use that like anger and like beefiness to like tank and do all this like damage, and it just, I feel like it fits Brev so well. I'm not sure what subclass of barbarian yet, but definitely barbarian.
Handsome barbarian.
Oh, of course.
I don't know what any of this means.
Neither do I. I can comprehend 10%. I just think your hair and beard combo probably makes you lean towards the barbaric, so yeah. I'll agree.
I put you as a sorcerer personally, but
sorcerer?
Yes.
Like Harry Potter? Okay, I'll take it. Whatever. Go to Hogwarts and shit. I'll do it. So obviously quite the resume of social media antics. One thing that a lot of peeps in the Vikings community know is that I used the word simp in a loving way, but you were within the actual fan base. I'm not talking about just the straight up simps that follow this man around, but you were one of the larger Kirk Cousins simps. How are you recovering and dealing with life after Kirk so far?
Well, I know that a couple of people were vague tweeting about me immediately after he signed with the Falcons because I admittedly was really upset that I did cry a little bit. You know, that man and just his overall demeanor and the way that he holds himself as a professional is sort of what got me through college, especially after the death of my great-grandmother. And so losing him was kind of a huge blow because, you know, there's a man that I really looked up to, more so him as a professional. There's somebody that I saw a lot of myself in, you know, being doubted and constantly trying to just like do the very best that I could despite the doubts and the people who were trying to sabotage me. And so at first, you know, it was a huge blow. And then all of the stuff about the tampering and just the way that he was talking about the organization, I was like, wow, I can't believe I spent like 2 years of my life dedicated to this guy, you know, like promoting him, fighting for him in the trenches. And so as the offseason has gone on, I'm more and more just kind of like, okay, bye. Have fun in Atlanta. It's cool. We've got JJ McCarthy now, and I'm gonna transfer all of my simping over to him, I think.
No love for Darnold?
You know, my dad is like the biggest Sam Darnold fan in the world for whatever reason, to the point where he is convinced himself that when he goes to a Vikings game this season, instead of saying Skol during the Skol chant, he's going to say Sam. So I'm going to leave that to him. Like, I respect the dude, and I have very positive things to say based on what we're seeing in training camp. And even before then, I was, you know, giving him praise. But, like, the simping for Sam Darnold belongs to my father. That's, hi, Matt.
Okay.
All for him.
Well, Brev may have to argue that point with you. I don't know, Brev. You had Edmund on last week, who we thought held that title. Do we need to get Dakota's dad?
What happened?
What is
so bad right now?
What is going on? Brev, this is a professional operation here, and you're just staring off.
Now.
Okay. Can you hear me, Brevin?
What happened with Sam Darnold?
This is going swimmingly. Coda's dad claims to be the biggest Darnold simp, and I think we need to have him and Edmund on to battle it out. We need to. Well, you asked what's going on. We need to have him and Edmund battle it out, I think, and I think you should facilitate this.
Oh, yeah, like fist fight. Like they should fight each other.
Physically.
My
I agree.
dad was a Marine. I don't know. My dad was a Marine, so...
Yeah, even more reason to do
combat.
That's foot-to-foot combat.
It's kickboxing, apparently.
And available only on Patreon.
I will not facilitate any fight for mid like Sam Darnold.
You had Edmund on spewing propaganda all last week on the Vikes Now channel.
I love giving people that's very different from people fighting over Sam Darnold.
I think it's a natural transition. I think it's a natural transition.
There's like 4 steps between talking about Sam Darnold and having a melee over him.
Define the 4 steps. You seem so exactly sure of yourself. I'm very curious. You seem to have thought this through, and
yeah,
yet
I need to know the steps.
Dramatically unprepared.
The first stage is denial. The second stage is
bartering.
And bartering. Third stage is admitting you have a problem. 4 would be setting up the fight.
And then, complete regression to the point you're willing to fight over Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got there. Yeah.
So, what are your expectations, Coda, for McCarthy in year 1? If really, I mean, Brev and I have made it clear we're going with the assumption he's not going to play at all, just to temper our expectations. But outside of that, like, when do you expect him to play? When would you like to see him play?
I think for me, it all really, not to go back to Sam Darnold, but I think it all really depends on how Sam Darnold does. I think if it's showing early on that he's not capable, I think we'll probably see JJ McCarthy by mid-season. My personal hope is that if they do decide to put him in, that he plays week 7 and is ready to go by week 8, because I would really like to see him destroy the Rams here in LA. But realistically, I genuinely think it all really depends on how the season goes. If it ends up being kind of similar to last season where no one's really sticking, or, you know, knock on wood, God forbid, Sam Darnold gets hurt, probably close to around week 10, week 11. My expectations for the season in general, though, are really low. I'm here for a good time. I know that Kwesi and KOC constantly push this idea and this sort of I don't know the right word for it, but they constantly push the Vikings will constantly be contenders, that is their goal every single season regardless. And while I do personally appreciate that, this season more so than any season I don't think is realistic. So I don't want Nick Mullins in again, I think.
Dude, that was so fun other than him losing me money.
This is why I don't bet. This is why I don't sports bet. I can't trust them. I can't trust them.
But here's the problem: is I was so correct about my bets. It's just that Addison was 6 yards short because I had Mullins throwing, I think it was 400, 450, Jefferson over 130 with a touchdown. I had a Jordan Addison touchdown. I just knew they were going to just chuck that thing all over, and his last 2 interceptions were throwing to Addison, and I would have had it. So $10 would have turned into like 480. I'm still mad about it. Don't talk to me.
It's been almost a year, and you're still just like, shut up.
I'm extremely upset. Yeah, to that $10 I lost. Let's go back to last year, though. Let's kind of relive the Kirkstand days for a minute. That Green Bay game, what's going through your mind when you see Kirk down on the ground? Out of curiosity, because I know we all felt like, hey, we're finally figuring it out.
Yeah.
We're dominating Green Bay, and then this thing happens, and we're like, shit, this isn't good. But like specifically for somebody who had so much respect for him, at least at the time, like what was going through your mind?
Genuinely during that game, as it was happening, I think it was one of the only games that we actually got to see here in Southern California. We got to watch it on TV, and I'm watching it, and I turned to my grandparents and I'm like, you know what? I think we could do it this year. Like I'm sitting there watching us, and I'm like, Justin Jefferson's out. I genuinely think we could do it this year. This could be our year. And then he goes down, and I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. Like we're winning. It's fine. And I know at that point, that's when everyone on Twitter was like, it's his Achilles. It's his Achilles. It's his Achilles. And I was like, no, it's not his Achilles. It's a hamstring sprain. It's
the same thing he said. He refused to admit it. If you watch the Vikings voyage, he would not call it what it was.
Like even Skoldoc was like, it's an Achilles, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's something else. It's something else. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. Not to say that I went through like all 5 stages of grief in those like last couple of minutes of the game, but I did. I genuinely went from like denial to angry, because how often does Lambeau Field claim somebody because of their awful grass, to, being like, okay, well, it's fine. He'll only be out for like a couple of games and we'll get back on it. The rest of the NFC isn't really doing anything. It's fine. And I don't think I hit acceptance until Josh Dobbs stepped on the field. Genuinely. I think it took Josh Dobbs stepping onto the field for me to finally be like, oh, like he's not coming back. I didn't cry. I want that known, that I didn't cry when he went down. But it very much was sitting on the floor like I'm a 5-year-old, just like at the TV for the rest of the day. I don't even think I remember what happened for the rest of that day.
Yeah, it's okay. I know Brev cried.
Oh.
Brev was very disappointed.
I very much didn't. I did not cry. You want to see my reaction? You want to see my live reaction?
Do you have a picture?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't have a picture, but I'll show you here. Watch this.
Oh,
I just had blank face at the TV.
I thought your camera was going to come back and somehow you'd be able to click it back while being in the background, like slamming your head against a wall. I'm extremely disappointed.
I know.
I definitely didn't do that, but I knew I figured pretty quickly it was an Achilles injury, just with how easy he went down.
Yeah, my reaction, this sounds worse than what it really is, was I laughed not because I'm like, haha, he's injured, but more in a like, haha, of course this happened. Because literally I think the drive before was the 1-play touchdown after the interception. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, the first month of this season was one of the most torturous and frustrating experiences of my life. We're finally putting it together and look even better offensively than we did the year before. And then naturally, the universe said, you're not allowed to have joy. Please suffer and go back to your lot in life. And so I couldn't help but just be like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, that was a rough year.
I don't think we lost anything at the end of the day. I hate saying that when this 35-year-old man just blew his Achilles on national TV. But like, I think we won as many playoff games without Kirk as we would have with. I didn't have much faith in the team going because I don't know. if they got Philly in the first round because Philly no-showed, but I don't know who we would have beaten.
Yeah, that's fair. I think.
Although we did beat San Fran the week before, we wouldn't beat them again though. I don't know.
I mean, ultimately, here's the thing: is I think anything could have happened, but I mean, there were people once Kirk went down who had been, and one day tweeting, haha, y'all wanted to get rid of Kirk. Look how great he's playing. And next saying, okay, lose every game and draft a rookie. And I was like, well, that's quite a change. And then we're mad we won the 3 or 4 games we did the rest of the year. That was a bit of a switch, but it all worked out. We got the quarterback of the future. Kirk obviously left. And you had mentioned it earlier, kind of tying it back to now. Brev and I haven't even gotten a chance to really talk about this. So I guess I'll just kind of round table to both of you. I'll start with you, Coda. What are your thoughts? What? What did he say? Where did he go?
I got to get my phone charger. That I wasn't planning on using my phone, but I got to get the phone charger to charge the phone.
This is going great. All right, Coda.
This isn't my
fault. It is 100% your fault. Exclusively your fault.
It's not my fault. Cock sucks. Suck my cock. How does that sound?
Anyways, like I said, we were practicing being professional this week, and then Brev decided, no. What were your thoughts on the quote-unquote findings of the league's tampering investigation with Atlanta?
I mean, the man outright, and I said this after the interview, I was like, why does it feel like Kirk Cousins is helping us in this interview? Because he flat out admitted that they were tampering. And yet the fact that they're only giving up a 5th rounder, and we're not even getting it, they're just giving it up. And they have to pay, I think it's like $250,000, and then the GM has to pay $50,000. And
yeah.
And it's not even just Kirk that they were going after. They were going after, I think it was
Moody.
And I can't remember the third guy.
I can't remember right now either, but
clearly it's important, but if we can remember it. But to me, it's just like not even 3 years ago, the Dolphins went through something way more extreme for trying to get Tom Brady and didn't even actually get Tom Brady. But the Falcons do something that is arguably worse. And they're basically told, okay, just don't do it again. I don't know. To me, it's like it makes sense because, of course, when it has to do with the Minnesota Vikings, they're not going to get the actual slap on the wrist they deserve. But at the same time, it's like, what's the point of having a no tampering part of the offseason if you're not even going to care?
You can just do it anyways.
Exactly. Then at that point, it's like, okay, well, next season the Vikings should, I don't know, harass everybody on the Lions and add through Christian McCaffrey. Well, probably not Christian McCaffrey because he's going to have the Madden curse this year. But you know what I mean? It's like, why have the rule if you're not really going to enforce it?
Patrick Surtain, come on down.
Or at least, what's the point of having the rule if you're only going to enforce it when it has to do with your higher end players like Tom Brady versus Kirk Cousins, who, I mean, obviously isn't on.
Whoa, that's going to be the headline. Kirk Cousins, not a high end player, says former Cousins stan.
I know. I'm gonna get canceled again. It's gonna be great.
I mean, that's what happens when you come on Skolcial Network. Brev, I don't know if you heard because somebody doesn't know how to use technology today. What are your thoughts on the tampering quote unquote punishment fine? I know you've always been from the jump hey, don't expect anything, but what? I thought it'd be a little something more than what it was. I don't know about you.
First of all, I do know how to use technology. I plugged the phone in just fine. Thank you very much.
Congrats, Grandpa.
I didn't think I'd have to use my phone, so I wasn't prepared in that sense. So direct your complaints to Cox Communications Incorporated. My internet was actually down last night, so you should be thinking of me during these hard times.
Real quick, for those who do have internet, go ahead and log on to SeatGeek.com and use code JasonH to save $20 off your first purchase while you're at it. Back to you,
while
Brev.
you're with that, make sure you comment, pick me, Jason, on Jason's next 5 tweets to get a Madden 25 beta code. And then use code BREV at SeatGeek, BREV, to get $20 off your first purchase.
I don't have a seat. code, so don't
you could. We'll get you one. Yeah, it's pretty hard. You have to climb a mountain and fight a guy with a sword. It's pretty difficult, but we'll
cool.
talk details after. All right, Brev, tampering, go.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that hard. They even gave Jason one. So for the tampering thing, I would say, yeah, from the jump, I didn't think it was going to be anything. I'm still kind of shocked it was as much as they did. I thought it was going to be like a 7th-round pick, like next year. So, because of the severity, what if you're tampering at all, it's bad, but it was not severe. He talked to a trainer like 2 days before he signed or something. From what I read, I could be wrong.
Yeah, but that isn't even what they were punished for. They were punished for getting him on a flight, for coordinating travel.
That's different. So I still think. Good point. I still think it was more than what I would have expected. Like I said, I was expecting a 7th-round pick like next year or something. I never expected the Vikings to get anything back. People were talking about, oh, give us the 8th overall pick and we'll call it even. Like I think I understand some of that as a joke, but I think there were people out there that like actually thought that might happen, and no, like we didn't tamper with Patrick Mahomes and go to buy him a new house. We tampered with Kirk. No offense, Kirk freaking Cousins.
Okay, but I got to stop you there because I get your point.
Right.
Yes, I couldn't disagree. Look, I didn't expect the league to do a lot, but I mean, look, it's Kirk. You both emphasize it's not Tom Brady. I think everyone would agree on that. But he was the top. Okay, no. Oh God, flashbacks. He was the top quarterback available in the quarterback needy league. Like there has to be a standard, and I understand these investigations by definition in their current state are fluid and it's a case by case basis, but you can't say I'm the top quarterback prospect or quarterback free agent, not prospect, and I am coming off a career altering injury, and yeah, I just happened to talk to the head of the training staff from the team I ended up signing with, and then an hour after my agent posted that I agreed to sign, peace be upon Julie Cousins, I would never drag that woman's name through the mud, but she's posting them having fully packed boxes on our Instagram like this. Yeah. If there's ever been a laydown, that illegal, untimely communication happened, it was now. And look, I would have loved if there was a straight up pick swap. 8 to 11 would have been great. I never thought they should give us 8 and we have 3 first-round picks. But I think the value, somebody posted a draft value chart in that the draft value difference between 8 and 11, given the positions of need, would have been a pretty fair punishment compared to historical precedents. They had a chance to make their statement and they didn't. And this was the most obvious case that could have possibly happened. I thought they would lose something more like a 4th, maybe a 3rd, depending on the severity, and that we wouldn't end up getting anything. But like, man, what's the standard?
I was gonna say before you so rudely interrupted. Not really. You came in at a good time there.
Look, I wanted to address some of the propaganda, pro NFL propaganda.
Propaganda.
I was gonna say this was the NFL's chance to make an example out of teams tampering, and they didn't do it. So
True.
You were completely right that if there was ever a time to do it, it should have been now. And it's kind of dangerous because now teams are going to be, oh, I only have to pay this low round pick and a couple $100,000 to just make sure I get my guy. It's okay.
I'd also like to add to Jason's point about Julie Cousins is that at least like with Caitlin, like to compare it to the Adam Thielen situation from last season, at least Caitlin wasn't like deliberately being like, we're moving in her less than vague like tweets and
the second the playoffs ended, she was like, we're probably moving, and like that's what kind of got me a little not stoked about that was happening.
But at least, you know, with the whole situation, it wasn't a, like, very obvious, like, we're leaving, we're going away. She was still, in a way, not to defend her, she was still, in a way, advocating for her husband, being like, we don't want to move, but we will if we have to. Whereas Julie was like, anyone have any recommendations for Christian schools in Atlanta? Because I like them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and, like, again, I would never drag Julie Cousins' name in the mud. Like, I wish that she would adopt me because I feel like she makes really good cookies. But the whole thing, the second someone had pointed out that she was from that area and that her family still lives there, was the moment I was like, it's over. It's gone, and it wouldn't surprise me if that was part of the selling point from the Atlanta Falcons, if that, or even if that came up in the tampering investigation. I don't know. To me, it just feels very much like if Kirk Cousins was as widely as accepted as a good quarterback because he is, as Tom Brady was, I think it would have been a little bit more of a severe punishment. Because I mean, the Dolphins lost a first rounder and they didn't even end up with Tom Brady, whereas the Falcons did get Kirk Cousins and lost a seventh. So
yeah, I think the difference could have been more in the timing and the names, because it wasn't just Brady, it was also Sean Payton, which would have been hilarious.
true.
But yeah, it was their opportunity, because both you guys made the point, like, what are teams going to think about this going forward? And the funny thing is that naturally something like this is going to happen next year. The league's going to do the same thing, and then in like 2 or 3 years, the Vikings are going to be like, Kwesi's going to say, hey, we're going to play your game, and we're going to get hit with a historic penalty, because that's how life works.
Always.
It has to be mentioned too, like, this happens all the time. They just got caught.
They didn't get caught. They did not get caught. They
got exposed, but they didn't get caught.
They exposed themselves.
Exactly. Yes. You know what I'm saying.
But that's what drives it crazy. If it was there was an investigation by like Sports Illustrated or something, and they're like, oh, we found this tampering. God, Kevin O'Connell even mentioned it at the combine.
Yep.
I'm glad
what are we doing? What are we doing?
It wasn't hidden. It wasn't hidden at all.
I mean, you could even point out that this is the same league that just lets the referees do what they're doing. There's no overview for the referees. They don't really get fined. They get taken out of like primetime games, but it's like, oh no, this isn't their first job. You know, referees have other jobs on top of this. This is also coming from the league that, I don't know if you guys saw the tweet recently. I guess ESPN was like, hey, you should make NFL Sunday. Oh, I think actually Jason retweeted it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole, like, you should make Sunday ticket cheaper, or like give one team options. So as pissed off about it as I am, especially because again, KOC was calling them out. They like all the shit that was happening at the combine. The fact that Kirk Cousins himself was like, yeah, we've been talking for a while at a press conference. But ultimately, I think they shot themselves in the foot and gave themselves their own punishment by drafting Penix. And I'll die on that throne. And I know people are going to think I'm joking. So I'm not. I think Kirk Cousins.
So true.
Kirk Cousins, as you know, a previous Kirk Cousins simp, he has the tendency to let his emotions get the better of him. And considering how they went about drafting him by telling him literally like 5 minutes before they even drafted the kid that they were doing
while they were on the clock.
Exactly. So if anything, Kirk Cousins isn't going to have the best year this year. Not just because he's coming off of Achilles injury. He's probably pissed to all hell that they did this during the draft, wasn't told that they were doing this over the draft. Then you throw into the fact that he's going to be returning to Minnesota against the coach that knew better than anybody how to calm him down, who knows better than anybody how to push his buttons. And I've been saying this all season. Kirk Cousins may think that he knows Kevin O'Connell in our offense, but Kevin O'Connell knows Kirk Cousins better than Julie does. And I'll die on that throne. And everybody who thinks I'm wrong can bookmark this if you decide to clip it. I'll tweet about it. You can bookmark that. But you all know that once that game is over and the Vikings come out with a W, I'm going to be the last one laughing. All I have to say.
Savage.
If Julie Cousins would like to get to know me too, that'd be cool.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Hey.
Anyways. Moving on from Julie Cousins simping, which we did not expect to have here. I had a question, and it just completely left my brain.
Do you want
What
us to
are the
keep Julie?
Well, I was going to ask you, because it's something I've experienced, something Brev's experienced. I'm actually trying to get Brev to go to a game. That's not just taking the train up to Jersey, because I actually want to hang out for week 2. What do you find makes it unique about being an out-of-state Vikings fan? Like, all 3 of us, none of us are in Minnesota, which is hilarious.
In fact, I'm currently house sitting in a house that has a picture of the city that I am currently living in. So there you go. Now you know what it looks like.
That's meta as hell.
I listen. It's really interesting. Yes, I'm suddenly in Japan. No, it's really interesting because living in Southern California, you know, for the longest time we didn't have a team, and because of where I live in Southern California, I'm not in LA, but I'm not too far away. It's like
where are you?
I live in Simi Valley, which is where the Ronald Reagan Library is.
Got it. I'm not from not too far from there.
Oh yeah. We'll talk later. But
yeah, I'm from like an hour and a half, 2 hours away originally, and then my mom's from Alhambra because they're
nice.
They're Alhambra, Glendale, but they're Armenian as hell. So
I know Simi Valley from Real Bros of Simi Valley. Great show.
I actually know one of the guys on. Anyway, but it's interesting because nobody here is a fan of any of. Well, there are a couple people, but most people here are actually like Packers fans and like Cowboys fans, which is really weird. And so coming back here as a Vikings fan, I was like, you know, I expect to go to like a sports bar near me and like be the only one. I expect to get heckled by a lot of my neighbors because we have a few Packers fan neighbors, unfortunately. But believe it or not, it's been really nice because when I go to the sports bar, there's actually quite a few of us that we don't like really know each other's names. But every time we go to a game, it's like, oh, hey, like, how's it going? How are the kids? And the other thing with it, you know, also being a female fan is that unlike Twitter, where obviously I can establish myself, like I know stats, I know this, and you can see it on a tweet. I walk into a sports bar and I'm just, you know, I'm a girl in short shorts wearing my Kirk Cousins jersey. And so men are like, oh, okay, like she's just here for like the guys and stuff. And then I'm yelling at the TV, yelling stats, and suddenly guys are like, oh shit, she knows her stuff. Actually,
she might be on Vikes now.
Nobody here knows that I'm on. I do that all the time whenever I go anywhere. I'm like, nobody here knows that I'm the Spitfire from Southern California. But it's interesting to say the least. Especially because it's so expensive to travel right now that I try to come out to Minnesota once a season for a game. I'm so happy they're going to be playing out here for once. But
I'm so mad that's a Thursday night game.
Don't even get me started. Do I need to go on a traffic rant again? Because I will.
No, but you live close enough to drive. I would have to fly, and it would only be a 45-minute flight, but I can't.
Oh, yeah?
Send Brev to LA. Send Brev to LA. You can take a train to the season opener.
Yeah, I'll make a 37-hour drive to LA on a Tuesday, Wednesday.
You could take a train to the Giants game and go see those god-awful jerseys.
Yeah. Oh, no, I would drive. That's like a 4.5-hour drive. I'm actually kind of
close. You both should come for the LA game, and we'll hang out with Paul Allen, and then afterwards we'll go to Disneyland.
I would love to take Paul Allen to Disneyland. I want to know what he sounds like.
Fun.
I want to know what he sounds like yelling on a ride.
Should I text him? Should I text him and be like, hey, are you going to have time while you're in LA to go to Disneyland with me? I'm going to text him and ask. I bet he'll say yes.
Do it. We'll follow up. All right. Final prediction. What is I know you said you probably have like low. You sounded less optimistic about this season. I know you're not. It's on an optimism level than Brev and I have though. Final prediction. What is the Vikings record? What happens this year?
I have 3, which I know sounds really weird. I have 3. I have my optimistic, my realistic, my pessimistic one. My optimistic one at this current moment is is about 12-4 to 11-5. That's my optimistic one. My realistic.
There are 17 games now, Coda.
Oh shit, you're right. 12-5, 11-6. I can do math. I have a degree in theater. Listen. My optimistic is 12-5, 11-6. My realistic is 10-7 or 9-8, and then my pessimistic gets as low as 6 wins.
That's about where Brev and I were, right, Brev? I think you and I both tapped out at 6 being the minimum.
My super optimistic is 9 wins.
That's not true. You said 10 or 11 at one point. You said you could see it.
10. Opinions change. Okay, that's like oh my, this is Case Keenum level miracle winning 13 games if we win 10 or 11 games this year.
I put on Twitter the other day that out of the last since 1998, most of the quarterbacks to lead the Vikings have been the most random people you could imagine to get them to a playoff game.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready.
I mean, any year we go in being like, oh, this isn't going to have any expectations. Suddenly we make the playoffs with a QB no one had any faith in. So pretty much how it goes.
Let's go Sam Darnold.
Wait, what, Brev?
Then why didn't Kirk work out? I didn't have any faith in him. So why didn't one playoff win in 6 years?
Lord, it's because I had faith in him. I'm sorry.
Oh, so we canceled out.
Coda finally got over the pain, and you're over here opening old wounds of roasting Kirk.
I know. I'm gonna cry for the next 4 hours before I have to go to Annie rehearsal.
I'm sorry.
Annie rehearsal? You're in Annie?
I am in
Annie. Are you Annie?
No, I am not. Do you know how many times I've gotten that question? No, I am not.
Well, your hair's reddish now.
That's true. I almost did purple. I was this close to doing purple. I should have. No, yes, I am in the musical Annie at the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center. If you live nearby, you should come check it out. I am in the ensemble. I have 3 whole lines, and I do a little tap dance number.
Nice. You're basically playing quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Put me
pretty
in, coach.
easy. Tap dance. I don't know why, but
I
know. I just really, are you just throwing everyone under the bus today?
I woke up feeling pessimistic.
I can tell, bro. Yeah, your internet's pessimistic. That's what I can say.
It is.
All right. With that, Dakota, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. We foreshadowed last week. Brev and I have been working on getting another guest on. We had a schedule change, but the good news is that if we thought we talked to Kirk Cousins today, Brev, what are you doing? Who's giving you weapons?
You want a scissor, Jason?
Anyways, if you thought the Kirk Cousins conversation and rehashing ended today, maybe not. Guess you'll have to see. But we will see you guys next week. Dakota, remind the people. I know that your Twitter's on here. What's your TikTok again?
Western Dakota? TikTok and Instagram is Western Dakota.
Perfect. Brev, were you going to say something?
Yeah, for anybody that's pissed about us talking about Kirk Cousins so much, you tried doing this shit in mid-June. You tried creating content. This shit sucks. So I will talk shit about Kirk Cousins.
We could have talked about Stephon Diggs, but I mean, that's
okay. Let's take 2 minutes. Let's do it.
Yes, Minnesota goodbye.
You two have the floor with this.
What's there to say?
Just that he is once again having beef with the Minnesota Vikings. He was asked about Josh Allen, and instead of talking about Josh Allen, brought up the fact that he thought that the Vikings were trying to sabotage him by sending him to the Bills, despite the fact that they were constant playoff contenders and have Josh Allen.
I was just impressed he managed to bash.
They really weren't though.
Yeah, I don't know. Josh Allen had done pretty well the year before. There's a reason they had the 22nd pick in that draft.
Yeah, but they were on the come up for sure. But I think Stephon might have had a point. I think it's more the Vikings just wanted to send him out of conference, and the Bills gave them the best offer.
Yeah,
I say less to Stephon. I say more to Buffalo because I have a lot of Bills friends in Buffalo in that area, and I've said it on here before. But I just love telling the Bills and their fans, "I told you so." It's gonna happen. I told you.
Yeah, I'm impressed he managed to simultaneously throw shade at 2 franchises. 1, screw the Vikings. 2, for sending me to a dumpster fire organization, apparently. Even though he made not only the playoffs, but conference championship games with both of those
Multiple
teams.
times.
And
Yeah.
also, that wasn't the Vikings. That was Spielman and Zimmer. Yes, it was the Vikings. Yes, but like it's not even the same people. Like it's
Doesn't count.
I'm very Brev and I have talked about this. I'm very interested to see him have to, as he gets older, be not the clear number one as you have Tankdale and Brev. Why am I blanking? Nico, right?
Nico Collins.
Yeah.
Nico Collins. I was like, I knew it was that, but I'm just blanking right now.
And Brevin Jordan, tight end. That's my guy.
Yeah,
so it's not
stacked.
gonna be. He's not gonna be necessarily 1,500, 1,600 yards and 12, 13 touchdowns. I don't think. So it's very interesting to see how he's gonna make his way out of Houston.
Thanks for Justin, Buffalo. Thank you.
Thank you, Buffalo.
Thank you, Buffalo.
We'll see you guys next week.
Pussies.
Thank you, Dakota, as well.
Bye.
Brev,
Sorry,
every time.
My bad.
Good. Just every single time, I think you're gonna be good, polite little Brevy. You throw off the
Never.
ending of this show.
I
See
like
you
when
next
you
week.
You
that.
shouldn't expect that. Oh.